Hi, I'm Mike from 1A Auto. We've been selling auto parts for over 30 years.
To remove the hubcap, these are actually not the lug nuts. They're little plastic covers that are threaded onto the lug nuts. So I take a 21mm socket. They should thread off by hand. Just kind of unscrew them. They won't unscrew from the plastic hubcap, but you just kind of go along, take them all out. And once they're loose, the hubcap should come right off. We're going to use the 21mm socket and the breaker bar while the car is still on the ground to loosen the lug nuts. You don't have to remove them all the way, just loosen them up. We're going to raise and support the vehicle. You can use jack stands and a floor jack. We're going to use our 2-post lift. These lug nuts are loose. I'm just going to use the socket to finish taking them off. Before I go to remove the caliper, to make it easier, I'm going to grab on it and pull it outwards and try to compress it a bit. This way when I loosen it up, it will slide right off of the brake pads. Going to remove the two caliper slide bolts. They're 14mm. And put a 14mm box wrench on there, loosen them up. If they're really hard to turn, you can use the dead blow on that instead of your hand. Get the other one loosened up. Before you pull this caliper off of here, you want to have a bungee cord or a stiff wire handy. That way you can hang the caliper. You don't want to let it hang by the rubber hose because you can damage it. So let's get that. Pull the old brake pads out. Just kind of work them out of the clips. These are coming out pretty easily. If they're really jammed in there, you can use a small pry bar or a large flat-bladed screwdriver. Just kind of get that in there and use that to pry the pads out. Now we need to remove the brake caliper bracket. It's held on with a bolt here and a bolt here. These are 17mm. I'm going to use a box wrench to break these free. They're on there pretty tight, so I'm going to use a dead blow mallet and hit the wrench. Give that a couple turns, make sure it's free. Before I remove it completely, I'm going to break the top one free. Get these turned out. Just make sure you hold on to the bracket with one hand, because once you move this out, or once you remove this bolt, the caliper bracket's going to want to fall. If this rotor doesn't want to budge, you can spray some penetrating oil around the hub here, and you can use some 8mm bolts to push this off. In our case, it's nice and loose, so this rotor is going to come right off. Before we can install our new pads, we need to compress this cylinder back into the caliper. So we're going to take our old brake pad and a large C-clamp, and I'm going to turn it down nice and slowly. And now's a good time that if this goes in nice and easily, your caliper is in good shape. If it's really hard to compress, you should consider replacing your caliper. It may be seized, but this one's going in nice and easily and evenly. So this caliper's fine. So I'm just gonna get it till it just bottoms out, the outside edge just like that. I can take this off. All right, we're gonna clean our caliper hardware. These little stainless steel clips that hold the brake pads into the caliper bracket. So I'm just gonna take some brake parts cleaner and a wire brush. Brush them down. You do the same for both sides of the caliper bracket and both sides of the car. You can also take a little rag and just wipe in there when you're done. These clips are basically stainless steel, so they don't really rust. You can be reused. Gonna start by putting our brake rotor on backwards. Take our brake parts cleaner and clean off the oil that they're packaged in. Just wipe off any excess. The rest will evaporate with the brake parts cleaner. And we can flip it around the right way. Install it in place. You can actually take a lug nut, thread it in. It'll help hold the rotor while you're trying to install the bracket. You spray this side with brake parts cleaner. Install our bracket back. The bottom bolt lined up. And the top one installed. And just make sure these bolts are nice and tight. Make sure the pads are nice and clean, there's no grease on them. Just take some brake parts cleaner, just spray them down before you install them. Take a little bit of caliper grease, just put it on the ears. Don't want to put a lot. The outer curve is going to match the outer curve of the brake rotor. So this is your inside pad. I mean, otherwise it would go this way because they can go inside and outside, but you don't want to try to install it this way. It's not going to work for you. So now we're going to start with the back one. And I'm just going to place it in the lower part of the caliper. Okay. Turn it into the clip. Push the upper one in. Those will just slide into place. Clips will hold them up against the rotor. Gonna take our caliper that we've hung by the bungee cord, unhook it from the bungee cord, place this in the correct position, reinstall the bolts, both top and bottom. Use a ratcheting wrench. I'm going to tighten these up. Make sure they're nice and tight. Don't forget to remove your bungee cord. I'm going to remove this lug nut I was using to hold on the rotor and reinstall the wheel. Once both wheels are reinstalled, you can lower the vehicle, torque the lug nuts, and then we'll pump the brake pedal. The vehicle on the ground, tighten your lug nuts to spec. Go in a cross pattern. Going to line up the valve stem opening with the valve stem in the wheel. Should fit right in place. Take the 21 millimeter socket and just thread these on. Just do them hand tight because they're just plastic. You don't want to break them. To push the calipers back out, since we compress them, I'm going to gently press on the brake pedal. Don't mash it to the floor, just kind of gently press it, build up the pressure. And you'll feel it get harder as the brake caliper pistons move out to meet the pads. That feels good.
Thanks for watching. Visit us at oneauto.com for quality auto parts, fast and free shipping, and the best customer service in the industry.